Thank you for joining us. This is our UWC Junior School Learning Program webinar, so hopefully you're in the right place. Welcome and thank you for joining us. While we wait for a few more attendees to join us today, I would like to invite you to take a look at a day in the life of our junior school on each campus. So we're going to start with a short video featuring the Dover campus and then move on to a short video about the East Campus Junior School. Enjoy these videos, and I will be back in a few minutes to talk you through the program for today. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed those videos. Welcome again to everyone who's just joined us in the last few minutes. My name is Malika Ramdas. I'm the Director of Admissions at UWC here in Singapore. So today we feature our webinar about the Junior School Learning Program. And I'll just talk you through our plan for today. But before I do that, I want to encourage everyone to come and visit us on campus as well. This webinar is part of our series of Open Days events, where we have a combination of webinar events such as today's, as well as the on-campus events where we welcome you to enjoy learning more about our community, meet with our principals, vice principals, other teachers, staff, students, parents, and really get a feel of the community and the campuses. So next week, we feature our East Junior School Open Day on the 10th of September. And then it'll be Dover's turn on the 17th and 18th of September. It's still not too late to sign up for our open day events, so we encourage you to do that. It's always great to have the learning program explanation come to life when you visit us on campus. So a little bit about today's session then. We will have about an hour's presentation delivered by our principals of both primary schools on both campuses. And then we will turn to a question and answer period at the end for about 30 minutes with our vice principals from both campuses. And I will participate in that as well if you have any admissions related questions. But I do ask that you keep the focus on your questions related to the learning program, because this is your opportunity to get those answered. We will try and get to as many questions as we can today in the live part of the program. But also my colleagues are behind the scenes responding to some of your questions via individual responses in writing. So look out for those. You're welcome to place your questions into the Q&A button at any point today, but just make sure you get them in while we hit that Q&A period at the end. So today we won't offer any admissions process presentation. We've already delivered that webinar. And if you missed that, the recording is already available on our website, and it is included in the reminder messages if you've signed up for Open Days. And on that note, we will also record today's webinar and send you a link to that recording if you can't stay through till the end, although we encourage you to do so. And that'll also be available on our website in a day or two. Finally, a little tip from me. If you would like to see our comments during today's presentation in a different language, you can enable the show captions and choose the language of your choice, and that will allow you to see the content delivered in a different language, or at least translated into a different language, I should say. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our primary school principals at the Dover and East Campus. We've got Pauline Markey from the East Campus and Brian O'Meloan, or Mr. O as he's known, on the Dover campus. So over to you, Pauline.
Thank you, Malika, and a welcome from me, Pauline Markey, the primary school principal here at East. As such, I have responsibility for children from 4 years old to 11-year-olds. That's K1 right through to grade 5. That's our primary school here at East. And I have been an educator for well over 30 years myself, and then 25 of those have been international, in international schools. My husband is a teacher and he's the head of theory of knowledge here at East Campus. My daughter graduated from here in 2020, the pandemic year. And my son, despite saying he never would, is now a teacher as well, a computer science teacher in Belgium. This is my 9th year here, and like yourself, I did a lot of research before I chose the school, not only for my own children, but for me as an educator as well. And I can honestly say I have not been disappointed at all. Uwcsea is a very, very special place of learning for little and for big people. And we know that it is such an important decision for you to make. It's probably one of the most important decisions you can make as a parent for your child. We know we're a little bit biased, I certainly am, but we have the best children in the whole wide world and the best teachers and the best parents in our community. And we just enjoy and learn from each other every single day. So hopefully today, you've joined us and you'll get an insight into that community, into our learning programme, into what life is like here at Uwcsea. And also, if you can, we would love to see you next week, so you can really feel and see the magic as it happens. Next slide, please. So Brian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, so my name is Brian O'Meloan. So it's an Irish name, causes all kinds of trouble for people, so people call me Mr. O here. I joined the school in the year 2000 as a grade 2 teacher. I was head of grade 4 for a while, and then I was vice principal, and I've been, I think, principal for 17 years in the Dover campus. So whatever, I mean, I never wanted to leave. Even if I did want to leave the school, my children wouldn't have let me. I have 3 children who came through the whole school, but the junior school, which is what we're talking about today, they absolutely loved it. So if my wife also teaches here, she teaches art. If we had ever said to them, we're going to move to another school, they would have said, off you go, send us a postcard. It is a very, very difficult school to leave, so be careful. So Pauline and I very much appreciate that you are considering us and having a look. So thank you for that. We are, if we could have the next slide, because obviously we couldn't do this by ourselves. It's a large operation. So in both junior schools on both campuses, we have 2 vice principals on each one. So there you see Ali and Erin, who are on the Dover campus. My colleagues are here. And then our colleagues at East are Natasha and Jen. And you will hear later from some of those, some of them, you will hear from them today. And so I will hand over to Pauline. And so thank you very much. Thank you for thinking of us.
Thank you, Brian. I'd just like to begin with a little bit about UWC, the actual movement. So today, as you're considering us, you wouldn't be joining UWC SEA alone. You would be joining actually a much greater movement. Our founder, Kurt Hahn, opened the first UWC in Wales, UWC Atlantic, in 1962. And with that mission, we have grown all around the world. You can see on the map there are 18 UWCs around the world, and we all share the same mission and values. And that was brought to us by Kurt Hahn. We are, or you would be very lucky to join UWC SEA, because not many of the movement schools have primary attached to them. There are only 5 schools with primary. So we consider ourselves a very, very special leg of our movement. Next slide, please. I mentioned to you the mission. I'm sure as you've done your research on the website, etc., you have read the mission. And the mission really is for us the lens through which we look at everything, especially child related. It really matters to us. It sits right at the heart of why we chose the school ourselves and informs what we do. And when we read the mission, quite often people see the words that stand out for them are force and peace and sustainability. But actually, I always like to point out the word people, because we very, very much are focus on relationships and people and connections. And that might be the children. I mean, we do have the most engaging, articulate, capable and curious young people there are. The adults, we have a caring, very well qualified and experienced, compassionate group of adults who form a team around your child to care for them and to nurture their learning every single day. And we have the most supportive and engaged parent body who not only support their children, but are amazing at supporting each other, and especially new families. And every person in that circle, in that community, is working hard to provide the optimum conditions for your children to learn and to thrive. Next slide, please. So we mentioned the school and the primary school, and this part of the webinar is the junior school, but we are a K-12 school, and we recognise, especially for some parents, that they think, wow, it's such a large school. Both of our campuses have huge student body, but we would want to just reassure you that it is broken down into very much smaller groups. So the primary school itself is broken down into 2 sections: our infant section, which is K1, K2 and grade 1, and our junior section, which is grade 2 to 5. And together they form the primary school. But for a child's experience, their first experience and their first community is their grade, their classroom, and then their grade. So it doesn't feel large to them, because that's where they're safe, that's where their community is, and that's the environment that they spend much of their time in. However, we benefit enormously from being in a K-12 setting, and we have several programmes that help us to benefit from them. So we have our older students who are amazing role models for our younger students and take that role very seriously. And that is shown in the way they behave around our campus, the way they may share the buses with the younger children. But a really lovely special thing is our buddy programme. So each primary class is buddied with a high school class, and they will get together once a week and learn together and play together. And it really is something special to watch, the relationships that are developed. And of course, our younger students then see those older ones around the campus and go, oh, there's my friend Josh. And that's really, really lovely. We also come together as a whole campus on special days of celebration throughout the year. It is sometimes hard to get those grade 9 boys away from the water play to go back to their own class, but all in good fun. Another amazing opportunity we have to connect right across the community is our Adopt a Border programme. And that's where each primary class adopts one of our National Committee scholars. So our National Committee scholars don't only learn at school, but they live on the campus. And they're away from their families. And quite often that means being away from their younger brothers or sisters. And so a class adopting them means they come along to that class. They might go every week. They teach the class about their own country and culture and their family, and the class obviously teach them. But what goes beyond that is families of the class quite often will invite them round for dinner or take them out to see a show, and just give that community feeling and family feeling beyond the school walls. So it's something we're immensely proud of. And actually, not only the children, both young and old, benefit from it, but as an educator watching that, and as a parent who invites those older students around as well, it really has transformed my life beyond recognition. Thank you. Next slide.
Okay, so I think this is me, right, Pauline?
Over to you.
Yeah. So in order to frame the rest of this presentation today is very much framed along the way that we frame our learning program. So what you can see there in front of you is our wheel, our circle, which is intentionally designed as a circle. And the rest of this presentation today very much is going to describe those 5 elements that you can see just on the inner circle around learning program. So academics, activities, outdoor education, personal social education, and then service, because that is how we frame our learning program. So for the rest of today, we're going to go through those one by one and speak a little bit about each, and then a little bit about our mission and values and the profile. So very much this wheel shows that these 5 elements, we place concurrent faith in all of those in order to develop what different schools call it different things: holistic education, educating the whole child. You hear all these kinds of phrases. Whatever you want to call it, we really mean it here. And we put money and energy and time into all of them. They don't, however, get equal time. They don't get equal budget because they don't need it. So of course, academics gets the most time and the most budget because that's the one that needs the most. But we interweave and knit everything in together as much as we possibly can. If we could have the next slide, I'm going to just start off with academics. So in this school, obviously, like in most schools, the vast majority of the children's time is spent on this particular element. And in doing that, we try to weave the other elements into it, and we try to weave academics into the other elements. So it's not that it's not like set apart and then they're doing outdoor ed and they're doing the other things separately. It doesn't feel like that to the students. So if we could have the next slide. So in what ways are we the same? We're very conscious, Pauline and I, that you are all coming from different school systems, different countries, and then some of you will be going on to different systems, and it's very important for parents to know, will my child be able to enter this school based on their last school? How well will that chime together? So in the way, we are the same as every other international school in the ways that you would expect. So we have a core curriculum, what you would think of as literacy, maths, science, and social studies, those what we would call core curriculum. That is very much the majority of what they do in their day. They have, like in most other schools, a classroom teacher. We have teaching assistants in all the rooms here as well. And they are doing the things that you would expect in a good school. The academics is part of educating a whole child. And they spend about 75% of their week with one teacher doing those core curriculum things. And then they also have specialist teachers for art, music, whatever their chosen language is, which is here is Spanish, French, or Chinese, and physical education, PE. So that is their kind of 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock day. And then after that, they do other things, if optionally. So how do we choose? in what ways are we different? If we can go to the next slide. Very much, I think the ways that we're different is in that wheel that I showed you, and thinking about how do we choose the content that they learn. So let's start with this question. So when you do have more than 80 nationalities and coming from all different parts of the world, the question that we ask and that a lot of international schools have to ask when you have 80 nationalities, whose history do you teach, for example? And different international schools answer that question in different ways. So we have in Singapore, as in lots of cities around Asia, schools that are very much based on the British education system, the American education system. And so schools sometimes will answer that question by deciding for history specifically, for example, we will be Eurocentric and we'll teach other things a little bit. We'll be American-centric and we'll be Asian-centric. And what we do differently very much is that we will look at the fact that we have all these different nationalities, and we're much more attracted to the idea of teaching through larger concepts, and then choosing content, that illustrates those concepts well. So, for example, an overarching concept like migration, like conflict, there are lots and lots of different examples, for example, of conflict that we can pick and choose. And then we hope that the children, as they start in junior school and as they go on into middle and high, that they will begin to notice, look at that, isn't that interesting? All conflicts seem to be more or less the same root. It's about ownership of land, power and influence over resources. So those kinds of things. What are the reasons for migration, pushes and pulls? What are those kinds of things? And they see commonalities among different what kind of case study examples. So we choose content that's worth knowing in itself in order to illustrate overarching concepts. Next slide, please. So we have a video here that explains that. It was made by one of our colleagues, and it explains that idea of concept-based curriculum quite well.
What is concept-based learning? Concept-based learning is centered around big ideas. Ideas so universal that they transfer across place, time, and situation. Content is important, so students must acquire knowledge and skills within each discipline. But the ability to make sense of their knowledge and skills in the world around them is just as important. This doesn't happen by accident. Students are given a variety of experiences so that they develop conceptual understandings, significant ideas that transfer to new contexts. This ensures that they thrive in a complex and unknown future. The Uwcsea concept-based curriculum leads to the IB diploma in grades 11 and 12 and is developed from our mission. Our educational goal is that students embrace challenge and take responsibility for shaping a better world. To do this, they must develop higher order thinking skills and apply their learning to diverse situations. Because our community is so international and diverse, our students bring a wide range of experiences, knowledge, and skills with them when they join us. A concept-based curriculum allows them to connect their prior learning to our experiences at school, as well as develop deep understanding. How do we develop conceptual understanding in our students? Concept-based learning goes hand in hand with learners having a diverse and broad range of experiences. This is achieved through all 5 elements of our holistic learning program: academics, activities, outdoor education, personal and social education, and service. We explicitly plan for concept-based learning by asking conceptual questions and teaching through inquiry, exposing students to content that stretches and deepens their thinking, fostering dialogue and collaboration, asking students to generalize and apply their ideas to new contexts. Together, these experiences support the development of conceptual understanding in our students.
Okay, thank you. So let's start now with the next one, which is personal and social education, which we often abbreviate as PSE. And rather than have me, this is very much interwoven into this is really the life of the school. It's embedded into lessons, but it's also how they behave and how they interact in relationships. So rather than me talk about it here, I had a chat with one of our other vice principals, Vicky, about this. Okay, so I'm joined now by Vicky Wright, and Vicky is the vice principal in charge of the infants of part of the school, which is K1, K2, and Grade 1. And we're going to talk a little bit about our well-being program.
Yeah.
And I guess the why we do it might seem obvious, but can you talk a little bit about our why and more, I guess, more about how we achieve our well-being program here?
Yeah, and I think one thing that we all want is for children to be happy, and we know that children learn best when they're happy. And we also know that children are only happy if they feel psychologically safe in a school and in a building, and if they have those relationships with their teachers. So we work really hard to build relationships, first of all, and communities and classroom communities. And then we have different tools to support that. So we have a structured written PSE curriculum. We have wellbeing check-in tools that different classes do at different times depending on the needs.
So what does PSE stand for people, because we've got people from all over the world watching. What's that maybe in other countries?
Yeah, so in most countries they will use personal, social and emotional education, and it's really about teaching to those holistic skills that we want children to have, and that actually is embedded in all our programme, in all our academics. It doesn't just sit in one lesson, so you won't often have a lesson that says PSE. It will be embedded in all we do, and that's all teachers, whether they're a classroom teacher or a specialist teacher, they're looking at that programme all the time. We're also really lucky that we have some specialist support here. We have a counselling team and we have social and emotional coaches, and they work with the teachers all the time. So that wellbeing piece is probably, I would say, the most important thing that we're doing all the time.
Yeah, it can be hard to describe, kind of, because it's kind of the non-subject, non-discipline, in-betweeny. It's the life of school, isn't it?
But it's the stuff that we need to be doing all the time. And I think school acknowledged that when they wrote the wellbeing principles. They wanted this to be something that, as a community, we all engage in. So it's not just about teacher-student, it's about teacher-teacher, or teacher with families, teachers with parents, and those wellbeing principles underpin everything that we're doing in the community.
So our wellbeing principles are, you know, we want everyone to have, you know, a feeling of connection, autonomy, some sense of independence, that they have some choice, and that they have competency that's valued. So how do we go about achieving those three facets of our wellbeing principles?
And I think that it is deliberate and it's intentional. We don't just expect it to happen, which is partly why we have a written curriculum, and that we make sure that everybody who works here is aware of those. But I think the connection's really important. It's a big school, and so connections are really important, but maybe don't happen as naturally as they would do in a smaller school. So I think we deliberately create time for teachers to work together. We create times in the day where teachers and children connect, whether that's through a morning meeting. We invite parents on campus a lot. I mean, they're here all the time, connecting. We invite voices and opinions, and it's interesting because as the children get older, their opinions and voices get stronger, and as a parent that can be quite hard when they're coming home and they have these opinions and voices, but we actively encourage it, and we know that when children feel connected to adults, they're much more likely to share if they have a problem. I think the autonomy is a really interesting one, because if you ask teachers why they work here, they will often say, because I'm able to have a voice in what I do. And I think children feel the same. They have a choice, whether it's in K1 when they're choosing where they want to play, sand or water, or whether it's when they're in grade 5 and they're choosing which maths problem to tackle and where they're ready. So, and I think competency, we know if children feel competent, and we talk about that healthy stretch, when children know they're being stretched and they are competent and they have the skills and the knowledge to answer what's in front of them, then those three things, if they can have those three things, then they'll feel successful in school.
So you mentioned the proactive, you know, preemptive kind of stuff, the PSE curriculum. Obviously then sometimes things go wrong. How do we approach, sometimes unfortunately we have to be reactive to an incident in the playground or to something. Talk a little bit about how we do that.
Well, I think the reality is that children are human as well, and they're going to make mistakes and get things wrong, and I think our job is to provide systems and structures so children feel comfortable to report and share. And then I think also then we have to look at everybody involved. How do we help them? We use a lot of restorative conversations. When children are ready, we want them to feel that they are part of that work. And also we want children to understand where it went wrong and how it can be changed in the future. So the reality is that they will get things wrong, and this should be a safe space. I will often say to families, this is the place where we want them to make these mistakes so that we can help them.
Sometimes children who are unhappy don't tell us they're unhappy. How do we get around that problem?
Yeah, and it's hard because children can present. We know this as being very happy, but there's something underlying that's concerning them or worrying them. I think our check-in tools are great because they can speak to a teacher if they feel comfortable, but we also have other ways. I went in a class recently, they had a little monster worry box where the children could put their worries inside. We have a counselling team. There's multiple adults around a child, but also we build close relationships with families. And we encourage families to share with us, and they know that we'll take what's being shared seriously and do something about it.
Okay, so we have done academics and personal social education. We just want to take a little break from the elements now just to talk about other very important aspects of the school's program, which is our mission and values, and then the UWC SEA profile of skills and qualities, which you can see there. We are very aware that, and we all have examples of this in our own lives, for example, of children and adults putting a lot of energy and time into an initiative, and it's possibly in the wrong direction, and they just weren't aware of the actual issues and what was the important thing to do. So we want our children to be aware of social and political issues. We want them to realize that there's no point in being aware unless you actually do something about it. So we want them to be active. And then we also need them to know how to be active and what to do. So we don't go straight to protest. We start lightly and we teach them how to do that. And so we want them to be aware, able, and active. And we need them to have the skills and try to develop the qualities to do that. Our mission is actually quite a powerful mission. It's quite a political mission. It's got the word force in it, and it's quite lofty. So we are very much, we very much try to live that and try to remind children of that at all times. So you're about to hear about our outdoor ed program, our expeditions program, and then activities and service, but it was important to actually frame this as well, that this is what it's all about. So next slide. Okay, so again, outdoor education, hugely important part of our DNA in this school. And for this particular one, I sat with Ali, who is another one of our junior school VPs, and we had a chat about outdoor education. Okay, so thanks, Ali, for joining us today. We're going to have a little chat about the outdoor education element of our program, and we place a very high premium on that in this school. So why do we do that, and what value do students get from it, I guess?
Well, yeah, we do place a high premium on outdoor education here, and we do that because, like parents, we want our students to grow up to be healthy, confident individuals who can tackle the challenges of life. And classrooms provide a lot of ways to learn those things, but being outside in the natural environment gives us something different. It allows students to take risks and work with their peers in different ways. And the unpredictability of outside allows kids to kind of face challenges that they might not be ready for, which is what life is all about.
Do you think outdoor education still has a place, like an important place in a modern education system with all the pressures of college and everything that they need? Does it still have a place?
Yeah, I think possibly even more now than ever before.
Yeah.
Right? With screen time and busy schedules and just city life, we're spending less time outside, and our kids are spending less time outside. And, we know from research that the more time we spend inside, the bigger effect that it has on our health, you know, our physical health, our mental health, our resilience, and even our ability to work with our peers.
Yeah. So what do we do then? How do we address those things? What do we provide?
Well, how we address that is in our program, outdoor education is one of our 5 elements. And therefore, it is as important to us as academics. And we're intentional. We're intentional about how and when we plan those things for the kids. Again, classrooms can provide so much for students, but they don't provide this opportunity to learn and do while they're learning. You know, take those risks and really get their hands stuck in the mud, right?
Yeah. We sometimes, I think, confuse the expeditions program with the outdoor ed program. And so people often talk about what is the place of the expeditions program within the overall outdoor ed program?
Well, yeah, the expeditions is a big part about our outdoor ed program. It's not everything, for sure. Like you said, we have lots of other opportunities to be outside. But perhaps I would argue that is one of the most memorable parts of our program.
Yeah, that's for sure.
As our kids move through the school, it is one of the things they always talk about. And I can say from my own experience as a parent, my kids talk about that, and from kids I've taught, right? It's the thing they hold on to. You know, and it's really one of these places where we as primary school teachers think about where they've come from, right? And then where they're going finally.
So what's the progression like from primary school through to the next stage and the next stage?
Yeah, so I guess starting in grade 1, you know, although not an expedition, the grade 1 sleepover here at school is the first nudge towards, you know, leaving, going on an expedition. And then from there, grade 2 goes to the zoo, and our first time to go overseas is grade 3, and they head to Malaysia for a couple days. And then after that, it's kind of a little bit longer, a little bit further, and certainly the activities they do get more challenging, more adventurous as they move up through the school, and then ultimately leading up into grade 11.
Yeah, and are we counting on our own teachers to have the expertise to lead caving and rock climbing, and how do we manage that?
No, certainly not. We hire professionals to run those activities, although teachers take part in them and enjoy them as much as the kids most of the time. But certainly we have experts who know the area and have all of the equipment and the things we need to lead those safely.
So much more valuable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for those insights. And we now have 2 of our elements left to share with you. So we're going to now hear from one of our heads of activities who will explain a little bit about, one of our heads of service, who will explain a little bit about what does service learning look like for our children in the primary school.
I think the core tenet of our service program in the primary school is that you are never too young to make a difference.
Absolutely.
The main thing that we always want to do is make sure that our children see themselves as change makers, and everything that we do is to set them up so that they can see the world through their own eyes and make tangible real world differences to make the world a more sustainable and peaceful place in line with our college mission.
And we quite often have stories from our children about how they really have gone and taken action in their own communities. Have you any stories to share?
Absolutely. Our service program is structured in a way that our very youngest students learn about themselves and they learn about kindness. But from that point onwards, we expand their worldview, looking at ways that they can make a difference within the college, things that they can do in our local community in Singapore, and then we introduce them to the global context as well. So within the college setting, we have a lot of sustainability initiatives that our students are part of. So for example, composting, gardening, all sorts of different real world applications, getting a little bit messy in nature and having that sense of shared responsibility to each other. In the local context, we work with a lot of partnered non-profit organizations here in Singapore. We have our students doing all sorts of different things like befriending seniors, or maybe spending time working with an organization that supports migrant workers or people with disabilities. It's all about learning with others rather than learning from or about others. It's all about reciprocity. It's grounded in that. And then the global context is really fantastic and inspiring. It's about introducing our students to stories of change makers from across Southeast Asia, addressing really important issues like access to education, things like human rights or possibly wildlife conservation. But the main thing out of all of those different settings is that students understand that there are so many different ways that they are able to have an impact in the world around them.
And it's funny you mention that, because only last week I received an email from a parent, and her daughter had chosen to have no birthday presents and no gifts for birthday, and asked her friends to make a donation and wanted that money actually to go towards one of our global partners.
That's fantastic.
And she's 7. So I think it really shows that it actually does make a difference, and the children think really deeply about their service learning.
Absolutely, it's really important to them. They feel a real sense of connection with all the different organisations that we work with. I think that's really a wonderful story.
Yeah, it really, and it's one of many, I have to say. There are many stories like that. So we've looked at some of the examples. Can you maybe focus in on one example? I think maybe let's think of our youngest children, our children in the infant school, because we do quite often think of it as, oh, the older children, I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our youngest children, maybe with our local partners.
Well, I mentioned talking about befriending seniors, and we've had a really wonderful partnership that's brand new this year with an organisation based just very close by in Badoke Reservoir. It's an active ageing centre, and our students are grade 1 students, so they're 6 turning 7 years old. They've been visiting there every Friday morning. They've been joining them with their exercises, learning about the needs that older people have in the ways that they need to move and stretch their bodies. They've been preparing different exercises for the seniors to follow. They've then been performing songs and different performances that they've written back in class to entertain the seniors. And they bring loads of games and activities, tabletop sort of things that they can do together. And it's been just a really, really special partnership over the last 4 or 5 months. We've had so many thank you cards back from the seniors saying that it's been a really important part of their week and it's made such a difference to them.
And lifted their spirits.
Absolutely. So the students are able to see that they can have that impact out in the local community, and that befriending is such an important thing to do.
So that was a little bit about it really was just a snapshot of our service programme. And despite the fact that I'm in this next video again, because listening to your own voice isn't a great thing, but we will move on now to speaking to Ian Deeth, who's one of the heads of primary activities at our school. Over to Ian.
So our activities programme, unlike other schools which might be seen as extracurricular, is one of our 5 learning elements. And the big aim of the programme is for students to explore lots of new interests. When they found something they like, develop their strengths, and hopefully during their course of the programme, they find some passions that they really, really love and they like to pursue further.
And tell me a little bit about this notion of long-term athlete development.
So with long-term athlete development, it can be applicable to a number of different areas and sports particularly. So certainly within the early years, we want them to explore as many different interests as possible. If you haven't tried lots of different things, you don't know where necessarily your passions might lie. And if it's okay actually within that journey to have some polarizing experiences as well. So not everything you will try will absolutely resonate with you, but when you do find something you love and it becomes a passion, then it's very easy in terms of committing longer hours to that particular sport or activity.
And I suppose an example of that would be ball skills. So that can be transferred to so many different sports.
Absolutely. So if you're learning to catch within maybe cricket, you might transfer that into being a goalkeeper in football, for example. And again, there might be elements of invasion games from netball that might translate well into basketball and football other team sports.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've talked about sports there,
Yeah.
but one of the things I'm most proud of at our school is the absolute breadth of experiences and opportunities our children get.
Yeah.
Our children get through our activity program.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more of the range there, because I know we have different categories.
Yeah, we've got a huge amount of different activities on offer. So from more traditional activities that you might expect, so within our drama, which eventually leads to the school production as well, to a huge range of different musical instruments that the students can learn as well, to more traditional clubs. So we have chess, we have a magic club at the school, which
very popular,
is very popular indeed. Baking club, global cooking. The list really is endless, and it's brilliant that our students generally do dive into different activities across the 4 different seasons, which last approximately 8 weeks. So that's a really nice amount of time for them to try something, and then at the end of that period decide, oh, is this something I want to continue and dive into a bit more, or shall I explore one of the different things that we have on offer here at the college?
And another area is student leadership, and we have actually lots of different areas in that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the leadership opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have opportunities such as debating club and of course our student council. Elected as well. So this is one of the ones where actually there's a lot of agency and choice from the students as well, and they'll give a small presentation to their peers in their class, and then someone will be nominated forward to represent their class to put forward ideas to improve basically different ideas within the school as well.
And we have other ones, don't we? I think we have peer mentors.
Peer mentors as well.
Leaders of environmental action.
Yeah, LEAP as well. So yeah, a huge amount of different opportunities for leadership within the school.
And this year we added library leaders to that leadership programme. So we're trying to look for children to have that leadership experience, but in again an area that they're more passionate about.
Absolutely.
Etc. So. And there you have it. You have the full circle, the 5 elements of our holistic learning programme. Each, as Brian said earlier, each equally important, of equal importance. But we really want to use these to pursue our mission and ensure our children become active members of a global society. We are fully aware that this wouldn't even be slightly possible without our parents. Next slide, please. We genuinely believe our community is a very special community, and our parents are a huge part of this. And that's not only because they're so committed and supportive and support their child and their children's learning and support us as a school, but they're amazing at supporting each other. They put on a whole range of activities, from Zumba dancing, from book clubs, from service opportunities, but they really play a special part in inducting our new families into our community. And we have nationality reps, and you can reach out to them in the language of your choice. And actually you can just reach out to any of them to ask any questions. So this all forms a really huge part of our community. Next slide, please. And though we're, as we said earlier, we're a large community, that is split very much into the classes, the grades, the play space, etc. We generally adopt a pedagogy of respectful and responsive listening. That's to our children, to our parents, and to each other. And that's where we believe that shared sense of responsibility and belonging is key and a foundation of what we do here. Now, we talked about all the different people who form that team around your child, but as always, we leave the very best to last. So let's hand over to the students themselves.
I like learning math here, and because they teach it in a really fun way. And I think language is also really fun. But my favorite subject is PE.
I enjoy learning unit of study because it is just like combining all the subjects together and learning a general view of different things, like performing collaborative creations or sustainability or communities.
And also reading comprehension, like how to understand the words inside the words to find out the meaning.
All of the kind people in our school. After school activities.
I actually like the art classes a lot because right now we're doing the clay.
I think it would be me and my brother being together. I like how it's one of the biggest schools in the world.
Beautiful, kind, welcoming, inspiring.
We have a variety of lots of different nations, so we get to learn each other's cultures as well.
So inclusive, diverse, and welcoming.
We always open our minds and hearts for people, so we are happy to let other people join into our community.
The teachers are amazing. They're really nice, really kind, and they can teach that way and also let us have a lot of fun.
They're great. They're a lot of fun and really nice.
Helpful and funny.
Kind.
Really kind and funny.
They also help you. Even if it's not something that your class is doing, they'll help you individually.
So every once in a while, we always reflect on something that we're learning. So like if it's maths, perhaps, we reflect and we do like something that, what could I have done better next time? What was good for me? And we always reflect.
I know that I'm making progress because if I'm able to talk about it a lot and share with my friends and help them learn, then I know that I know a lot about it and I'm learning.
Well, progress is a long-term thing for me. At first, in the start, I will want to set a goal for what I want to do. And at the end, I reflect on what happened. What are my successes? What is my next step for my learning?
In UWC, there's this buddy system where basically, like, we arrange people to play with the new kids. And when I joined in grade 1, it really helped me a lot.
It would be to learn how to solve the Rubik's Cube. Because once you learn how to solve that thing, everyone's attracted to you. And that's pretty much it.
Who would not want to learn from those children every day? And they're just a tiny sample from our fantastic student body. So before we hand over, both Breen and I would like to really thank you for considering UWC for your children. We hope today's presentation and the rest, and certainly the on-campus tour, will give you a valuable insight into our college, our community and our campuses. We believe it's a place where our students flourish and blossom, gaining a deeper understanding of themselves, their place in our school and their place beyond the school walls. So thank you very much. We're immensely proud of our school here and what we do. And I'm sure you have lots and lots more questions. So I'm going to hand over to our Head of Marketing and Communications, Lucy Snape, who'll take it from there with some of our VPs. Thank you from me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pauline and Brian, and thank you to everybody who has given up their lunch break to join us today. We really appreciate your time. So we will now be joined by Erin Bellabo. Thank you, Erin. Hi. And Natasha Hoff from East, Erin from Dover and Natasha from East, our VPs of primary school. Just unmute yourselves there, Erin and Natasha, and we'll get stuck into some of these questions that we've received from our audience today. Thank you so much for all your terrific questions. I'm sure many of these questions are on the minds of those in the audience. So we might start with you, Erin, if that's okay. We've had a couple of questions around language learning. Could you tell us how language learning works in primary and sort of talk through the home languages program as well? Thank you.
Absolutely. Within our regular curriculum that's happening throughout the week in all of our classrooms, we have 3 languages that are offered. So we're offering to our students Spanish, French, and Chinese instruction. This could be happening at a beginner level, or they may go on depending on how their
their the success level is, they may go up through. If it is to a continuation level, if it is a home language speaker, like a Chinese speaker, they would have the opportunity to then be studying first language. So that's all happening throughout the week within regular classrooms. We offer 4 times 40 minutes of language instruction a week. And for the younger children, we may break those periods up into smaller chunks, whereas when they get up into the higher levels like grade 5, those chunks might be a little bit longer, but it equals out to about 4 times 40 minutes of language instruction for those three languages. Then we also have an outstanding home languages program, which we're extremely proud of. Our home languages program happens at lunchtimes and after school. It's optional for families, and this gives families an opportunity for their children to study their heritage language or their home language. We offer a variety, and the numbers keep changing of how many languages we have on offer. It goes by popular ones within our community, the ones that parents are most interested in, also goes in within enrollment. So if we have enough children enrolled in a particular language, then that one would be able to run. The following year, we may have to reflect and check on it. But we have, I couldn't even give you the numbers, but I know that it's multiple languages that are offered for children outside of the classroom.
Terrific. Thank you, Erin. Natasha.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for joining us today. The first question I have for you is a terrific question, actually. The question is, how is UWC-SEA different from other IB schools that are also teaching from a conceptual basis and with an international point of view? What sets us apart?
Great question. So IB schools typically in the PYP will have one central idea. So that's one main concept that they're looking into. Whereas with our conceptual curriculum and our interdisciplinary learning, we're looking at multiple concepts and then looking at case studies that are relevant to the diversity and cultures of the students that we have with us and their languages. And we draw on that and then use our 5 elements to help the students transfer that understanding to other contexts. So we're really taking it out from not just the academics, but putting it into practice in everything that we do.
Terrific, thank you. I might go back to you, Erin. I'm going to tag team here for a little bit, if that's okay. Erin, this is a question around supporting students who might be ahead or behind their grade level in subjects, for example, maths or English. How do we differentiate, and how do we provide the level of support or challenge that is required for these different students?
Okay, fantastic. I think our biggest thing that we always want to ensure is that we have the opportunity for all children to access our curriculum. It's extremely important, and we want to make sure that they're being appropriately challenged. So it's already been mentioned that we have outstanding teachers. So our teachers would definitely be well-versed in being able to manage the children in front of them in their classrooms, knowing if they need extension, knowing if they need additional support. From there, we then have a wonderful whole other level of staff who are there to provide assistance and help wherever needed. So we have an amazing learning support department where they have a lot of people within their department that are able to support our children should it need to be happening. We also have other children who can be accessing some of our extension, perhaps by doing different projects that we have going on. For example, in our unit of study, we may have that opportunity for students to be able to extend based on the projects and their interest level by the variety of things that are happening around the campus. We do a wonderful program. I'm just going to continue with unit of study in that for a little bit. We do a wonderful program called iTime, where children have an opportunity for themselves to dig deep into any type of interest area for them. So those children can extend themselves as far as they would like. If we went specifically to math, our program would be differentiated by offering our students obviously a variety of different assignments at all of the different levels that may be working for them. If they need the manipulatives and the resources to come out, then that will happen for them. They may need a bit more of extension. So we use something like a math menu where there is a lot of sort of challenges offered within, and a menu where they can choose different things. So a little bit of challenge by choice for them. So they're very well taken care of, and our students are, number one, they're really well known by our teachers, and then the teachers will know what to do.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Erin. Natasha, I have a question for you, and I'm smiling at this one because I know that that parents are always more anxious, I think, than the children about overseas trips. So being a parent myself and having to send my child on their first overseas trip, I know I can empathize with this question. So for the overseas trips for the younger children that are perhaps not accustomed to being away from home, especially for, you know, a number of days, and that have not necessarily had the chance to do this and sort of gradually get used to it, how do we approach helping these children, making these children feel supported, and how do we find that these children take on the challenge of being away for a couple of days when they do their first overseas trip in junior school?
Brilliant question, and I have the pleasure of seeing those tearful goodbyes from parents, but
Yes.
seeing our students rise to the occasion when they're actually in the outdoor setting. So we don't just set our children off unprepared for the adventure before we go on camp. Often several weeks. We'll start with the PSE program, and we talk about some of our skills and qualities that we have, like resilience, like commitment to care, and how we look after each other. We role play some situations like homesickness, and it's wonderful actually at camp, if someone's not feeling great, how the children rally around them and coach them and help them through those situations. So we definitely go through a very careful program. We show the children where they're going. We talk about it. We have an evening for parents as well to come along and see what it's about, to ask those questions that they have about camp to help parents feel comfortable. We send an update when we're on camp so parents can know that children are doing well and they're happy and having a wonderful time. And when the children connect in the outdoors and they put themselves through some of those challenges we talked about, the amount of pride and success they feel, it's amazing to see. It's a very worthwhile experience.
Absolutely. I do concur. After seeing my two sort of, you know, the anxiety that they might be feeling about those trips, and just how the teachers and the community really support them and make them feel comfortable with that, and then they don't want to come home is usually the outcome. So wonderful. Erin, over to you. I'm going to combine two questions actually. So there's a question around homework and what sort of homework is given in junior school. And I think that actually connects quite nicely to another question around how parents are kept informed about updates of learning and their child's progress, whether it be individually or as part of groups. And I know that there's a lot to talk about here. So Natasha, I'll also give you a chance to contribute to this one as well.
Okay, so I'll start with homework. So we know that one of the things that I would like to say anyways about our school is that homework is important, but for us, our children, we would really love for them to be able to go home and have an opportunity to also just rest and play and have family time. So homework is important, but we also want to say that we always want to reinforce that we need that as well. Our homework program looks at what kind of is important for each level. So our grade 2s need a little bit less, our grade 5s need a little bit more. Our number one focus is always reading. So we know that reading is everything for children, and what they can, the value in that is so important. So we would ask that children are reading every night or 4 to 5 times throughout the week. Depending on the grade level, we give a set amount of time that we'd like them to be reading. Along with reading, there will be some kind of math homework that would go home. That could be on an app. It may be a piece of paper with some questions, that type of thing. So the children have a chance for some practice. That also, the amount of time for that is based on age. And we try not to send too much math homework, but there is something that's going home weekly. The other thing that would be happening is then if there's any special projects or any time throughout the year when students need to be maybe gathering items from home to bring them in, or doing a bit of home research, that would also be added out. But what we don't do is we don't send homework home just kind of for the sake of sending homework home. We'd like it to be that there's some kind of value behind it. And we also try our very best to make sure that homework is assigned weekly, so that then families can kind of put it into their weekly schedule and see what they're going to be able to manage. Monday, on Monday it should go home, and then brought in on Friday or brought in the following Monday. So there's flexibility for families to be able to do their homework, maybe catch up on the weekend if they've been really busy. We also are very open to say if homework isn't working in your family on certain nights because of different reasons, there's that flexibility. So we have that very good homeschool partnership. And then leading back into opportunities for parents to be seeing and having an idea of how their kids are doing. So there would be those pieces of homework going home from time to time where they can be checking in. We also use Seesaw, which is a wonderful platform for sharing learning. So everybody has the opportunity to see what's going on for their individual children. Weekly, there are emails that go home outlining what the week is going to look like. So families should have a good idea of what their children are doing within their own classrooms or within their own grade level. And then along with that, if I'm thinking about other things that might be happening, we would have different times when certain pieces of work might be going home, or we'll be having families coming in to when we're showcasing things like a poetry cafe, where the families are coming in and having that live opportunity to see their kids.
Absolutely. And maybe, Natasha, you could also share a little bit about student-led conferences and art shows and those, just to build on what Erin has just said about the poetry cafe. It would be good to hear a little bit about those additional events.
So we have the opportunity to have a parent-teacher conference in the first term, and then we have a student-led conference in the third term. So that's where students talk through their learning, talk through the processes that they've been. Each grade has an arts festival, and so that's a wonderful opportunity where the children create and design a performance. It's often totally student initiated, so we get some wonderful things that come from that maybe we wouldn't have thought of, and they look great, and so parents are invited to that. And as Erin mentioned, the learning shares are a really important way of seeing what's happening in the class. And we also offer coffee mornings to parents so that they can come in and work with the head of grade to learn an aspect about something that's happening in that grade that's specific to that.
Terrific. Thank you, Natasha. I know that they are those events are really valued by parents, and when they can come into the classroom and come onto campus and see the learning for themselves. I do have one question, and feel free to, I'll pose it to you, Erin, but feel free to both jump in. It's around technology. It's a question that is on a lot of parents' minds these days. How do we approach the use of technology and sort of teaching responsible use of technology as part of our learning program?
Absolutely. So we have, of course, technology within our school, and we use it as another tool. It is not all that's being used throughout the day. So we have iPads that are being used with our students up until the end of grade 4. Once they move into grade 5, then they're using MacBooks. And we're using those tools as a way to be creative, as a way to be able to reflect on our learning, as a way to be able to show what our level of understanding, but is absolutely not the only thing that's being used throughout the day. We also have lessons on digital citizenship, making sure that the children are using the technology ethically. We have a lot of conversations about the amount of time they should be spending on their devices at school and at home. We try to help to reinforce some of the things that we know are going on within family homes, where devices can become quite important for some children. So we do a lot of home and school partnerships there, where we're trying to help families to manage that. We have opportunities for families to be coming in and being a part of some of our digital literacy presentations. So I think we have a very good homeschool relationship there. Along with that, we have a digital literacy committee at school of our staff who get together and kind of look at the latest trends and making sure that we're keeping on top of everything that's happening and the way that tech could be impacting our children, trying to keep on top of that.
Terrific. Did you want to add anything there, Natasha?
I thought Erin did a really good job of covering that. I think just to re-emphasize that homeschool partnership is key, and we're all learning and it's evolving very quickly. And so we try to stay that committee and our curriculum is up to date with current research trends, and where our community conversations are often happening around this. So we feel it's really is a partnership and something that is a focus for the community.
And I know that as a college, we are looking at the role of AI and what role AI will play in the classroom of the future, and how it relates to teaching and learning. I'm just going to take one moment to check the Q&A. Great. Actually, a question's just come in regarding AI. So I'll just read it out, okay? So it's a tough question that no one has an answer to, but keen to know the school's perspective on this. Things are changing so much. We all grew up being taught to aspire to a certain occupation, and that's going to look very different by the time our kids go to university with AI changing job landscapes. Do we have a view on how the school is keeping up with these shifts? So I think that this is a terrific question, and as parents, we're all thinking about this. And I know that this is a junior school session, but I think that we could maybe just talk just broadly around the future-focused education and the fact that our concept-based approach and interdisciplinary approach is around developing those critical skills that will transfer to different sectors and different roles. Did you want to sort of provide your personal professional comment on that question? It's on everybody's minds these days.
I think I can just jump in. So we do have heads of digital literacy from K to 12. And so they're bringing to teachers a lot the things that are happening and how it's evolving. And it really does come back to our skills and qualities and that aspect of critical thinking. And we're trying to look at it from the perspective that it's a thought partner. It's not something that at the moment, we use it in our teaching, but for our students, we're wanting them to think about it, what's it telling us, to be able to go back, look at multiple sources. So drawing on all those skills that we're building in the classroom and really ultimately coming to that thinking piece of, is this going where I want it to go, and is this helpful for me? But yeah, those digital literacy coaches right now are really busy, and as you know, it's constantly changing, and so we'll adapt and we're flexible as a college to working towards making sure that we do what's best and grounded in research.
And I think to the attendee who's asked the question, I think you might want to also join our high school webinar, which talks about the curriculum in high school, the 9-10 program, and then the new course option for IB systems transformation, which really talks about developing those skills which are future focused for the future that our children will be entering into, which at this point is largely unknown due to the incredible leaps and bounds that we're currently seeing in the area of technology specifically, but also in terms of other trends that we're seeing globally, which will definitely impact the world that our children will inherit. So look, this has been a terrific session. I think we're at the end of our questions now. So I'd just like to thank Erin and Natasha for being so good at answering those questions as I fired them to you. And thank you also to Pauline and Brian for their wonderful presentation, and to Malika for opening the session for us. Thank you to you all for joining us. We really appreciate your time. Just a quick plug for the open days, which Malika mentioned. Next week, we have the 9th and the 10th in-person open days on our Dover and East campuses. And I encourage you all, if you haven't registered to come along, please do. We would love to welcome you to campus and for you to meet our staff, our students, and see the incredible facilities that we have here. One final thing, Malika, if you can drive for me and put the slide on.
Sure.
It's just a thank you.
Just pulling it up now. Yep.
Thank you so much. I'd be very grateful, we would be very grateful if you could just take a moment, either screenshot that QR code or pop it up on your phone now. If we could get a little bit of feedback from you around how today's session went. Is there anything that you feel we could do better for next time? You are the audience, and it's important that we respond to your experience. So if you can share a little bit about that with us today, we would be grateful. Thank you once again, and wishing you a lovely weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.